You're under arrest on suspicion of the murders of Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce in 1987. Do you understand?
What happens when we as a people can't rely on employees of the state meant to make life easier for us? From having sex with a corpse to combing the remains of a corpse with another, these stories of evil coroners caught on camera will send chills down your spine. First, Kenneth Douglas. In a small Ohio county, a sinister figure lurked within the walls of the local morgue. His name was Kenneth Douglas, a man whose twisted desires would shock an entire community. Let's delve into the dark past of this evil coroner. Kenneth Douglas began his employment at the Hamilton County Morgue in the late 1970s. Working the night shifts, he seemed like any other ordinary employee, but little did anyone know the horrors that unfolded behind closed doors. For over a decade, Douglas held a position of trust, responsible for handling the deceased with dignity and respect. However, beneath his seemingly professional facade, a dark secret festered. According to his own chilling confession, Douglas admitted to engaging in unspeakable acts with the lifeless bodies that passed through his hands. He claimed to have had sexual encounters with up to 100 corpses, often under the influence of drugs or alcohol. In a deposition, Douglas callously described his actions, stating, "I would just get on top of them and pull my pants down." These shocking words sent shockwaves through the courtroom and left the community in disbelief. The revelation of Douglas's heinous acts shattered the trust of the community and left them demanding justice for the victims and their grieving families. The question on everyone's mind was how such a depraved individual could have gone undetected for so long. As the shocking truth about Kenneth Douglas came to light, the community demanded justice for the victims and their families. In 2012, the families of the victims took action, filing a lawsuit against the county for the gross abuse of the corpses. The evidence against Douglas was overwhelming, with his DNA discovered on the body of Karen Range, a 19-year-old who tragically lost her life in 1992. Douglas was eventually charged and convicted in 3 cases of gross abuse of a corpse. The courtroom was filled with tension as the families listened to the horrifying details of his actions. The county, however, attempted to distance itself from Douglas's crimes, claiming that it couldn't be held responsible for the actions of its employees. But a recent ruling by the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals challenged this stance. The court ruled that a jury could find the county's former coroner and morgue guilty of negligence for failing to properly supervise Douglas. This ruling marked the 4th lawsuit that Hamilton County faced for its alleged mishandling of corpses. One crucial piece of evidence that played a significant role in the case was the testimony of Douglas's wife. She revealed that she had called to report her husband coming home from work smelling of and alcohol, only to be told that whatever happens on county property in county time is county business. This shocking revelation exposed the lack of oversight and accountability within the county's morgue, further fueling the community's outrage. The actions of Kenneth Douglas, the evil coroner caught on camera, have left a lasting impact on the community and the families of the victims. For them, the pain and trauma caused by Douglas's actions are immeasurable. The desecration of their loved ones' bodies has left them with deep emotional scars that may never fully heal. The pursuit of justice has been a long and arduous journey for the families. They have had to relive the horror of their loved ones' deaths through legal proceedings, facing the graphic details of the abuse inflicted upon their bodies. The community has rallied around the victims' families, offering support and solidarity in their quest for justice. They demand accountability from the county and reassurance that such a tragedy will never happen again. The response of the county to the shocking revelations surrounding Kenneth Douglas, the evil coroner caught on camera, has been met with outrage and disbelief. The county has attempted to distance itself from the actions of Kenneth Douglas, claiming that it cannot be held responsible for the behavior of its employees. However, the community and the victims' families refuse to accept this as an excuse. The revelation of Douglas's crimes has shattered the sense of security within the community. People now question the integrity of the morgue and the safeguards in place to protect the deceased. For the victims' families, the pain and trauma inflicted by Douglas's actions are immeasurable. The violation of their loved ones' bodies has left scars that may never fully heal. The pursuit of justice has been a long and arduous journey for the families. They have had to endure the emotional turmoil of reliving their loved ones' deaths through the legal proceedings, facing the graphic details of the abuse inflicted upon their bodies. The community has rallied around the victims' families, offering support and solidarity in their quest for justice. They demand accountability and transparency from the county, ensuring that such a tragedy will never be repeated. The impact of Douglas's actions extends beyond the immediate victims and their families. It has exposed a deep-seated issue within the morgue's supervision and oversight, raising concerns about the treatment of all those who pass through its doors. Kenneth Douglas has admitted guilt on 2 occasions for engaging in sexual acts with the bodies of murder victims while working night shifts at the morgue. Judge Nadine Allen of the Common Pleas Court has sentenced Douglas to 3 years in prison. The charges relate to the violation of the bodies of 2 female homicide victims from 1991. It is important to note that this sentence will be served consecutively to a 3-year prison term Douglas is already serving for a similar offense involving a female murder victim from 1982. During the court proceedings, Douglas expressed remorse for his actions. The sentencing hearing was attended by family members of 2 of the deceased women whose bodies were involved in these disturbing incidents. The case of Kenneth Douglas serves as a stark reminder of the importance of accountability and the lessons learned from this harrowing ordeal. The pursuit of justice in the face of such heinous crimes is not only crucial for the victims and their families, but also for the community as a whole. It sends a powerful message that no one is above the law, regardless of their position or authority. David Fuller. Next, we delve into the unbelievable crimes committed by Fuller, a necrophiliac double murderer who terrorized the nation for over 3 decades. Fuller thought he had gotten away with the murders of 2 young women, but his reign of terror extended far beyond that. As a hospital maintenance worker, he used his position to access mortuaries, where he sexually abused the bodies of over 100 deceased women and girls. The bedsit murders marked the beginning of David Fuller's reign of terror, leaving a trail of fear and unsolved mysteries in their wake. The first victim, Wendy Nell, was a 25-year-old manager at a Supasnap store in Tunbridge Wells, Kent. Little did she know that her visit to the store to develop photographs would lead her into the clutches of a sadistic killer. In June 1987, Wendy's boyfriend made a horrifying discovery when he found her lifeless body in her blood-stained bedsit. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled, her promising life cut short in a brutal act of violence. The investigation into her murder was extensive, but forensic samples were poor, and without an established DNA database, identifying the killer proved to be an insurmountable challenge. 5 months later, Fuller struck again. This time his victim was 20-year-old Caroline Pierce, a waitress at Buster Brown's restaurant. Fuller had visited the restaurant and had become fixated on Caroline. He abducted her outside her bedsit home, plunging her into a nightmare from which she would never escape. Caroline's body, naked except for a pair of tights, was discovered by a farm worker in a flooded drain 40 miles away in Romney. The area was familiar to Fuller, as he had often cycled through it on his trips. The similarities between Wendy and Caroline's murders were striking, but with limited forensic evidence and no leads, the investigation reached a frustrating dead end. The bedsit murders sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents fearful and authorities baffled. Murder detectives worked tirelessly to solve the cases, but the lack of technological advancements and a DNA database hindered their progress. As time passed, the hope of finding the killer dwindled, and the murders remained unsolved for over 3 decades. It wasn't until 2019 that a breakthrough finally came. Advanced DNA techniques were used to re-examine the evidence from the bedsit murders. An enhanced DNA sample from Caroline Pierce's tights provided a crucial lead, reigniting the investigation. But it was a sample from Wendy Nell's body that ultimately led to the identification of the killer. Checks on a national DNA database revealed a close match to 90 individuals, which detectives painstakingly narrowed down. Eventually, they identified a relative of David Fuller, the man responsible for the bedsit murders. With this breakthrough, they were able to track down Fuller himself and bring him to justice. When the police arrived at Fuller's house, he denied any knowledge of Wendy and Caroline. However, his lies crumbled under the weight of the evidence. His DNA was a match for the killers, and his fingerprint was found on a plastic bag stained with blood in Wendy's bedsit. The truth could no longer be denied. Behind the closed doors of the Kent and Sussex Hospital and the Tunbridge Wells Hospital in Pembury, David Fuller's twisted desires ran rampant. As a general maintenance worker, he had unrestricted access to the morgue, where he committed unspeakable acts of sexual abuse on the bodies of deceased women and girls. The true extent of his depravity would shock the nation. Between 2005 and 2020, Fuller sexually abused the bodies of at least 101 women and girls ranging in age from 9 to 100. These victims had tragically lost their lives in accidents, on the hospital wards, or in the operating theater, only to become prey to a man who derived pleasure from their lifeless forms. Fuller's Access All Areas swipe card granted him entry into the morgue, where he would sexually penetrate the bodies of the deceased. Unlike other parts of the mortuary, the post-mortem room lacked CCTV, supposedly to preserve the dignity of the deceased. This absence of surveillance allowed Fuller to carry out his sickening acts without fear of being caught. The doors to the fridges where the bodies were stored were left unlocked in the post-mortem room, providing Fuller with easy access to his victims. It was a shocking oversight, a breach of security security that allowed him to continue his reign of terror for 15 years. The hospitals where Fuller worked were plagued by serious failings that enabled his crimes to go undetected. The scale of Fuller's abuse came to light when investigators examined his computer hard drive at his home in Heathfield, East Sussex. What they discovered was beyond comprehension. A staggering 818,051 images and 504 videos documented his vile acts of abuse. It was a digital library of horror, a testament to the depths of his depravity. The evidence also revealed Fuller's persistent interest in rape, abuse, and murder of women. It painted a chilling picture of a man consumed by his sick fantasies, a man who had turned the morgue into his personal playground of perversion. The sheer volume of images and videos on his computer hard drive was a testament to the magnitude of his crimes. Fuller's arrest in December 2020 marked the end of his reign of terror, but it also revealed the horrifying extent of his crimes. During the search of his house and home office, detectives made a chilling discovery. Hidden away were computer hard drives, CDs, and floppy disks containing over 14 million images of sex offenses. It was a staggering collection that exposed the depths of Fuller's depravity. In 2021, Fuller pleaded guilty to the 2 murders on the 6th day of his trial. He also admitted to 44 charges relating to the abuse of 78 women and girls in mortuaries between 2008 and November 2020. The court handed down a whole life prison term, ensuring that Fuller would spend the rest of his days behind bars with no possibility of parole. The bedsit murders may have remained unsolved for decades, but the determination of investigators and advancements in DNA technology finally brought closure to the families of Wendy Nell and Caroline Pierce. Their tragic deaths serve as a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary individuals and the importance of the relentless pursuit of justice. The story of the bedsit murders is a chilling chapter in the annals of true crime, forever etched in the memories of those affected. Jerry Bridges. Jerry Bridges, a former Middle Georgia coroner, made headlines when he pleaded guilty to defrauding people of money paid to him in advance for funeral and burial expenses. Jerry Bridges, the man at the center of this shocking case, had a long and seemingly respectable career as a coroner in Jones County, Georgia. Born and raised in the community, Bridges was well known and trusted by the locals. He had built a reputation for his professionalism and dedication to his work, earning the respect of both colleagues and the families he served. Bridges began his career in the field of forensic science in the early 1970s. His passion for helping others and his fascination with the intricacies of death led him to pursue a career as a coroner. He completed his education in forensic pathology and quickly rose through the ranks, eventually becoming the coroner of Jones County. As the coroner, Bridges was responsible for determining the cause and manner of death in cases that fell under his jurisdiction. He worked closely with law enforcement agencies, medical professionals, and grieving families to provide accurate and compassionate services. His role was crucial in bringing closure to families who had lost loved ones and ensuring that justice was served in cases of suspicious or unexplained deaths. Throughout his career, Bridges gained a reputation for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to handle even the most challenging cases with professionalism and empathy. He was known for going above and beyond to ensure that every aspect of his work was carried out with the utmost care and precision. However, behind this facade of professionalism and dedication, Bridges was harboring a dark secret. Unbeknownst to the community he served, he had been engaging in fraudulent activities, taking advantage of the trust placed in him by grieving families. Bridges's fraudulent scheme involved soliciting money from families in advance for funeral and burial expenses. He would assure them that their funds would be securely held and used solely for the purpose of covering these costs. However, instead of fulfilling his promises, Bridges would divert the funds for his personal use, leaving the families in a state of financial distress and emotional turmoil. The extent of Bridges's deceit became apparent when he was arrested in June 2019. The shock and disbelief reverberated throughout the community as the truth came to light. Families who had entrusted him with their loved ones' final arrangements were left devastated, realizing that their trust had been misplaced. As news of Bridges's arrest spread, more victims came forward, sharing their stories of betrayal and financial loss. It became evident that Bridges had taken advantage of dozens of families, amassing a substantial sum of over $200,000 through his fraudulent activities. The impact of Bridges' actions went beyond the financial loss suffered by the victims. The emotional toll on the families was immeasurable as they grappled with the realization that the person they had trusted with their loved ones' final arrangements had betrayed them in the most callous manner. The community, once filled with admiration for Bridges' dedication to his work, was now left questioning how such a respected figure could have committed such heinous acts. The shockwaves of his crimes rippled through Jones County, leaving a lasting impact on the trust and faith that the community community had placed in its public servants. As the evidence against him mounted, Bridges found himself facing a multitude of fraud-related charges, each carrying significant consequences. In the courtroom, Bridges pleaded guilty to the 43 fraud-related counts, admitting to the deceitful actions that had caused so much pain and suffering. His guilty plea marked a turning point in the case, as the victims and their families hoped for a resolution that would hold Bridges accountable for his crimes. As the legal proceedings unfolded, Bridges' age and poor health became factors in the sentencing decision. While he could have faced up to 270 years in prison, the state requested a lesser sentence, taking into account his advanced age and health condition. Ultimately, Bridges was sentenced to 5 years in prison and 15 years of probation, with the hope that he would be held accountable for his actions and provide restitution to his victims. For many of the families, the financial loss caused by Bridges' actions was significant. They had entrusted him with their hard-earned money, believing that it would be used to cover funeral and burial expenses. Instead, Bridges diverted the funds for his personal gain, leaving the families struggling to make ends meet during an already difficult time. The victims spoke of the financial strain they now faced, recounting the hardships they had to endure as a result of Bridges' deceit. Some families were forced to take on additional jobs or borrow money from loved ones just to cover the basic expenses of daily life. The financial burden added an extra layer of stress and anxiety to their grief, compounding the emotional toll they were already experiencing. But it wasn't just the financial loss that left the victims reeling. The emotional impact of Bridges' betrayal was profound. Families had placed their trust in him during one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives, only to have that trust shattered. The realization that the person they had relied on for support and guidance had taken advantage of their grief was a devastating blow. Next, Dr. David Sutz. Dr. David Sutz, a name that was once synonymous with trust and integrity in the medical field, had a long and illustrious career as the Kenton County Coroner. For over 40 years, he dedicated his life to serving the community and providing compassionate care to those in need. But behind the facade of a respected coroner, a dark secret was brewing. Dr. Sutz began his career in the coroner's office with a passion for helping others and a genuine desire to make a difference. His dedication and commitment to his work earned him the trust and respect of his colleagues and the community at large. For 30 of those years, he served as the coroner, overseeing countless investigations into the cause of death and providing closure to grieving families. During his tenure, Dr. Sutz was known for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to unravel the mysteries surrounding suspicious deaths. His expertise and professionalism were unmatched, and he became a pillar of the community, someone people could rely on in their darkest moments. In addition to his role as the Kenton County Coroner, Dr. David Sutz also had a long and storied career as a family physician. For 45 years, he served the community, providing medical care and guidance to countless individuals and families. However, behind the facade of a trusted family doctor, a dark secret was lurking. Dr. Sutz's journey as a family physician began with a genuine passion for helping others. He believed in the importance of building strong relationships with his patients and providing them with the highest quality of care. Over the years, he became a familiar face in the community, known for his compassion and dedication to his patients' well-being. As a family physician, Dr. Sutz played a crucial role in the lives of his patients. He was there to guide them through the ups and downs of their health, offering support and treatment when needed. Families relied on him for everything from routine checkups to managing chronic conditions, trusting that he had their best interests at heart. However, as time went on, a darker side of Dr. Sutz began to emerge. Behind closed doors, he was engaging in illegal activities that would ultimately tarnish his reputation and shatter the trust placed in him. It was during this time that he started to abuse his position of power and betray the very people he was meant to serve. The Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure, in their investigation into Dr. Sutz's actions, uncovered a pattern of unethical behavior that would shock the community. It was revealed that he had been illegally dispensing prescription drugs, including highly addictive opioids, to his patients. This revelation sent shockwaves through the medical community and left many questioning how someone they had trusted for so long could have committed such heinous acts. The board's emergency order suspending Dr. Sutz's medical license was a necessary step to protect the health, welfare, and safety of his patients and the general public. It was clear that he posed a significant danger, and immediate action needed to be taken. As news of Dr. Sutz's crimes spread, the community was left in disbelief. How could someone who had dedicated their life to serving others betray that trust so egregiously? The impact of his actions reverberated through the lives of his patients, many of whom had become dependent on the medications he had prescribed. The investigation also revealed that this was not the first time Dr. Sutz's license had been restricted. In the past, he had faced face disciplinary action for prescribing methadone to a patient addicted to OxyContin without the necessary permits. It was a clear indication that his unethical behavior had been ongoing for years, putting even more lives at risk. The once respected coroner now faced a federal jury who would ultimately convict him on 12 counts of illegally distributing opioids. The evidence presented in court painted a disturbing picture of a man who had lost his way, succumbing to the allure of personal gain at the expense of those who relied on him for care. As the sentencing was announced, Dr. Sutz was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison. While some may argue that this punishment is not enough for the gravity of his crimes, it serves as a reminder that even those in positions of authority are not above the law. The shocking downfall of Dr. David Sutz, once a respected Kenton County coroner, serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights the importance of vigilance and accountability in the medical profession and the need for stricter regulations to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. Next, Stacy and Shannon Kent. In the small town of Leadville, Colorado, a shocking case unfolded involving Stacy Kent, the former owner of 2 funeral homes. Stacy and her husband, Shannon Kent, ran funeral homes in Leadville and Silverthorne, serving the local community in their time of grief. However, their seemingly compassionate profession took a dark turn when Stacy was charged with unlawful acts of cremation. It all began in December 2019, when a heartbroken couple who had tragically lost their stillborn baby sought solace in the ashes of their child. When the grieving parents of the stillborn baby received the ashes from the Kent funeral home, they were expecting to receive the remains of their precious child. However, what they discovered was beyond comprehension. Upon closer examination, it was revealed that the ashes they received not only contained the remains of their infant, but also fragments of an adult. The scientific analysis uncovered fragments such as a piece of an earring and surgical staples, indicating that the infant may not have been cremated alone. This horrifying revelation shattered the trust and added an additional layer of pain to the grieving families. The impact on the affected families cannot be overstated. They entrusted the Kent funeral home with the delicate task of handling their loved one's remains, only to discover that their trust had been violated in the most unimaginable way. The emotional toll of this discovery is immeasurable, leaving the families grappling with a mix of grief, anger, and a profound sense of betrayal. As the investigation unfolded, Stacy Kent pleaded guilty to 1 count of unlawful cremation, while another count was dismissed. Additionally, she pleaded guilty to violating the Mortuary Consumer Protection Law, further highlighting the extent of her wrongdoing. The court sentenced Stacy to a year of probation and imposed a $5,000 fine, a punishment that many argue does not adequately reflect the severity of her actions. The case of Stacy Kent serves as a chilling reminder of the potential horrors that can occur behind the closed doors of funeral homes. It raises questions about the need for stricter regulations and oversight in the industry to ensure the dignity and respect of the deceased and their grieving families. While Stacy Kent's involvement in the unlawful acts of cremation sent shockwaves through the community, her husband, Shannon Kent, the former Lake County coroner, also faced his own set of charges in this disturbing case. Shannon, who held the elected position of Lake County coroner since 2014, was implicated in the mishandling of human remains and faced serious allegations. In December 2022, Shannon Kent pleaded guilty to 2 counts of unlawful cremation, shedding light on the extent of his involvement in this heinous crime. However, the plea agreement resulted in the dismissal of 12 other charges, including 5 counts of abuse of a corpse. This lenient outcome left many in the community outraged, questioning the fairness of the justice system and the accountability of those responsible for upholding the law. The court sentenced Shannon Kent to 6 months in jail, a sentence that many argue does not adequately reflect the gravity of his actions. The plea agreement and the dismissal of numerous charges have left the families affected by his crimes feeling betrayed and denied the justice they deserve. The case of Shannon Kent, the former Lake County coroner, serves as a stark reminder of the power and responsibility entrusted to those in positions of authority. It raises concerns about the need for stricter regulations and oversight within the funeral home industry, as well as the importance of holding individuals accountable for their actions, regardless of their professional standing. Thanks for watching. Click on the videos on your screen for similar content.